This is a Schrade SC503. It's a Scrimshaw model, trapper style, single blade, has a little lock back on it. You can see it's in good shape, but it's got some corrosion. You know, the blade could use being cleaned up. And the Scrimshaw pattern is kind of worn. I want to try to restore this knife. I'm not trying to bring it back to what it looked like when it was brand new. I'm just trying to clean this knife up and polish it up and try to restore the Scrimshaw so that you know, it can look its best and I can enjoy carrying it around in my pocket. This is a hand restoration. I don't have buffers or any of that kind of thing, and I'm not trying to bring it back to new. I will be leaving some of the character of the years that this knife has been used. I just want to just clean it up and kind of make it mine. First thing I'm going to do is basically attack the spine, the springs and all, and try to clean that up. So I'm masking off the bolsters and the sides of the scales because I don't want to scratch them up with sandpaper, steel wool, or anything like that. And what I'll do is I'll start with steel wool first. I always kind of start with the smallest way that I can mar something up, you know, the finer methods first, and then move back down to lower grits and harsher methods until I reach a point where, you know, I'm getting the results I want. And then what I'll do is, and you'll see I eventually go down to 220 here. And then what I'll do is I'll climb back up the grits, and I'll do this in every part of the knife that I begin to work on. When I begin to work the blade, it'll be the same thing. Start with the least destructive method first, and back down if you have to. It's easier to back down than it is to create a bunch of deep scratches that you didn't really have to, and then try to remove them later on in the process. In my experience, I'm not a pro. I'm just a guy that likes playing around with cleaning old knives and razors and pretty much anything else I can find, cleaning them up and using them. And there, that's not looking too bad. So now we're going to start working on the blade, and I start out standing in this direction because, you know, the grinding process and stuff creates scratches that move in that direction. So I want to kind of try to keep it that way. And once again, you see me backing down the grits because I started high, and now I'm going to go low and climb back up. You got to really be careful when you're working on blade. You don't want to destroy that mark that the Schrade plus SC503, the embossment there on the base of the blade there. You don't want to mess that up and make that disappear. But you also really need to be careful because that's a blade. It's got a point. It's got an edge. Now the edge might be dull as all get up, but like you see me standing here, watch the edge. Watch the tip. That tip will sink into your hand faster than you realize. That edge, even if it seems to be dull to you, will slice you faster than you realize. So you really want to be careful. Now I'm going in an opposite direction with finer grits because I can see the difference in the deeper grits and the finer grits by changing direction. And I'm just trying to clean the blade up. I'm not worried about getting every little mark off of it. This process is a lot gentler, or can be, too. If I was to put this on a buffer, I could really easily heat up the blade to a point where I started messing with the temper. There's a lot less risk to this. You see me, I've got the blade laying on the edge of the bench here. It lays flat like that. And I'm not putting pressure on a blade that's hanging in the air or anything like that. I'm not using a bunch of pressure or anything like that. I'm pretty much letting the sandpaper do the work. And then we'll go to buffing the spine, the springs. I'm using Mother's mag and aluminum polish for this. That's a way to get the ends. It's just an old sock because there's some roughness to it, and I think it works better for initially starting to polish and buff something up, to have a bit of nap to the surface of whatever cloth you're using. Now I'm going to polish the scales a bit. They won't buff up to a shine I polished on these for quite a while. Evidently, whatever composition of the Delrin or whatever that is that Schrade used wasn't really meant to shine a whole lot. Now I could, and here I am starting to work on the blade, I could put some carnauba wax on the handles and probably make them shine that way, and I might, just simply because it might protect the metal better and all of that, but it's not necessary. The knife will come out looking beautiful just like it is with no issues. So it's all in what you want. I know guys that do they do the carnauba wax on scales, they do them on the steel, or they do it to the steel because it helps it avoid tarnish as well as gives it a nice sheen. I don't usually mess with it because, you know, that wax is going to rub off eventually. And if you want that same sheen again, you'd have to reapply it. And it's a pocket knife, man. You know, I want to get it as beautiful as I can, and then I'm going to use it. Also, you want to watch. Doing this, there's a tip and an edge, and you want to be careful. See, there? That'll stab you if you're not really careful. And there it is. It's starting to look pretty. I'm really happy with that. That's lovely, in my opinion. And you see I left some of the water stain on that side of the blade and all. I could sand until that was gone, but it would actually take an awful lot of metal off the blade, and I just don't see the point. And so now we're going to fill in the Scrimshaw. I tried with a fountain pen ink that I had first. You can see the little blue stained cloth there to the top right, and it didn't work well, so I went with the magic marker as my second, as plan B, and I think it came out really well. I'm really happy with it. The other side has a place for initials, and somebody took a scratch awl or another knife or something and scratched some initials in it. I'm going to look around at the engravers places around here to see if I can find somebody that can actually kind of remove those and put my initials in it. But that'll be something I do later on. And it's just a matter of polishing it with finer sandpapers until you remove all the ink and bring it back to where it looks nice and clean. I will probably actually do a bit more work on it to clean it up, clean the scales up even a little bit more, but that looks really good to me, and it was successful in restoring the trout and the fly it was chasing. And there's that other side with the scratches and stuff in it. I'll leave that to another day when I can get someone to remove those scratches. If not, I'll just leave it like that. It won't hurt anything. The knife is beautiful again, in my opinion. I really do appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot for coming along. Bless you. Later.